But so debrief. How you feeling?
Fantastic. There was a lot of things that I had not heard about that he mentioned throughout the stream. Also, just things to think about that I hadn't before. One of my favorite things that he brought up was um, there was so much more to talk about. For one,
Mhm. Yeah, totally. We had to be conscious of his time. We had so many more questions written that we didn't ask.
for sure. One of my favorite things that I liked from it was thinking about
Mhm.
opting out from the system and what that actually means. And he gave us a clear example of what that actually looked like in Argentina in particular. And that really, really made me think because then, you will often bring up the fact that, or you ask the question of like, how am I, the person with a couple thousand bucks or a couple $100 in my name, going to change anything, right? Like, or I'm just going to buy Bitcoin and like hope that I don't need $100 to go and do something else in the world and end up having to sell it at a loss. But he brought up the idea that his contractors in Argentina will only accept getting paid in Bitcoin. They will not get paid in their local currency. And you see, that changes the dynamic. If you have people that are demanding to be paid in sound money, then
Mhm.
the employer has to find somewhere to go and get it. Now,
Very
don't they?
true.
And so that's a very interesting way of thinking about what it means to opt out, because that actually becomes the more important piece is how are you getting paid? How are you being compensated? And if workers come together to demand fair compensation in the form of fair money, of a sound money system, then that changes the game.
Mhm.
So I thought that was pretty good.
No, I think that's a fantastic example because, like, we always think that, like, we don't have any significance, right? Because that is a big old system, but we do a whole lot of saying they, but that's a fantastic real world scenario of how things can happen, and I think it's also a really good point that we talked about a bunch where opting out can look that simple. It doesn't need to be that extreme, and it doesn't need to be like a big spectacle, right? Because like, we're always because the problems are so aggressive and so painful. People think that you have to match that energy to solve it,
Right.
which isn't the case. But I almost feel like they want you to think that it is, so that it happens, and they can say, "Look," you know what I mean? Like,
Pe-
look. Go ahead.
People want you to think what exactly? They want you to think it's that hard.
Well, if you think you have no chance, then you won't do a little thing because you don't think that anything matters. So who cares, right? And so then, if the only way to solve this is a big, extreme, like violent display of protest, then you get got.
because because most people won't, for
Yes.
one. And then if they do, right, then this is my concern is that if people do take that approach, well then that gives uh I'm going to try to say a particular party, a government, and the
Hmm.
people legislating to have an excuse to then up the ante on the surveillance, up the ante
Yes.
on the
Yes.
control, and that becomes
Falling right into
catch
it.
22. Yeah,
Hmm. Totally. They walk you into it, and they make you think it's your idea.
right. So, I actually saw this comedian. He was talking about this earlier today. I saw it on Twitter. It's an old clip, but he was like, "The only way is to revolution," and like in a lot of ways, it's like, and he clearly studies history, and his whole thing, I think, is like he's a comedian, but he's really like a historian. You see that with a lot of comedians. Really,
Totally.
they really are actually talking about real stuff, and the history behind it all. But, anyways, I just thought it was a fascinating clip. I don't want to play it because it's a little bit inciting in a way,
Hmm.
but it's like, dang, um, if that's the only answer, then the technology that's going to be available to be used against people is pretty intense.
Hmm.
It wouldn't necessarily be the best approach, but but no, I like the idea of incremental change. The other side of it is also building the stuff, right? You
Totally.
brought that up. You were like, okay,
Hmm.
so how do we build it then? Because that's going to be another answer to what's the answer to all of this is to go out and build the solutions.
How is it worth their time currently? For most people, they have far bigger problems.
Kind of brings me right into something regarding a meme that I saw. We'll break down some news in a little bit as well. But this one guy was coming out and he was saying he was talking about AI in particular, but I thought that it kind of applied to everything. So this is a reaction that I wanted to get from you. Give me just a second.
Do your thing.
But essentially, the idea here is that who has the time to like really figure this stuff out? So here's the tweet that started going, not I guess viral, but semi-viral. This guy, Sam DAPE, he said, "You basically need to be unemployed to keep up." And he's talking about AI here, but I didn't even realize that at first, and he did a good job of not saying that because it goes more viral this way.
Mhm.
Because my interpretation of that was, like, literally just to get ahead in the economy, period. Like, you almost need to be unemployed to be able to, like, play the games of what's gonna get you out ahead and not falling behind and down into whatever. So, but yeah, no, just like, and then on top of that, like you're saying, well, what's the actual incentive as well? Like, it's tough if I'm not going to actually get paid to do this, if it's open source only and I'm not getting paid. There's
Mhm.
different things that come into consideration. It almost requires the elite class, not elite class, but just people who have the time to be able to sit down and work on these problems in the way that they have. Like whoever made Bitcoin, for instance, those guys that were working in those spaces, they weren't poor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just something that
No,
wanted
that's
to say
awesome,
there.
man. And I'm sorry I can't throw up your comment on the thing because our tech was fighting us today, but I see a comment from Cross Central saying, should have asked about how to improve the UX, which is the key problem for crypto dApps. And I think the answer to that is the fact that people who understand UX and people more need to create the experiences and then work the technology into it, right? Like whenever I go and use a lot of these dApps, eh, I'm sure it get way better now that AI is a lot more accessible, but a lot of them you can tell they were made by crypto first people. That's kind of like the problem. If you look at the evolution of a lot of technology, it's usually the people that understand it the most that create it, right? So if you're a genius with something, when you see a bunch of lines of code, like you can read it because it's a language you understand.
Mhm.
But then modernizing that to a brain that doesn't even have a freaking clue how the things in the background are executing their in real world experience, it's a difficult thing. It is a very, very difficult thing. And that's why all UX across the internet right now, everything looks and feels the exact same because it's built upon the foundation of what they got everyone to use. We talked about this a bunch of times, right? If you train human behavior, then you just want to, like UI UX right now is basically like, how close is this to a social media app feeling?
Mm,
Like
that's
that's what it
funny.
is, right? That's what
That's
it is
true.
right now, right?
Yeah,
And so I think that a lot of people will come into this space and I think take more risks. And I think you need to create an experience that they can't have elsewhere to get people curious because until that happens, why would they care?
very good point, man. Um, what an interesting idea too around the people are already trained to certain behaviors, right? So how do we, as someone who's building something, your mind is always going to be how do we actually just mirror the behaviors of the swipe and everything that has already been trained. You were talking about
Mhm.
that one video you sent from it was from
From
Kanye.
Kanye. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And who knows if there's any legitimacy to that. I think a lot of the things that we think are messed up are kind of just coincidences or like things that just make sense. Right? So go ahead.
no, I was going to say I think that comes up a lot in the conversations that we have here.
Yeah, totally, right? Where he's saying like they're training your brain because of the Angry Bird thing. And that's why they got you to swipe on Tinder. It's like, it's like cause and effect kind of thing, right? Like, is that actually why they did that, or did they just know that people would be comfortable with this experience?
Right,
Right?
and then
I think,
social medias then adopted it because they saw that people do it, right, is what you're saying.
yeah, I think we have kind of spilled over too conspiratorial in the world, right? Where everything is like, oh, big master plan. I think that's giving people way too much credit, to be honest. And I
Right,
think that if you were reverse engineering the outcome that you were trying to get to, you probably would have made the same decision, right?
100%, yeah.
So yeah, what else you got next?
News.
Let's do it.
Let's dive into the news.
Just do it. Do it. Do it.
I've got a news story for you. So, over the past 24, 48-ish hours, there's been a little bit of an issue between the Pentagon and a company that goes by the name Anthropic, which happens to be the creator of Claude, which is an AI model.
Getting a lot
So,
of love right now.
getting a lot of love right now in every direction. So, Pentagon has essentially threatened to make Anthropic a pariah if it refuses to drop AI guardrails, which what a great word to use in this scenario. I mean, I had never heard that word in my life. Reading that, have you heard that word before? Ben, it doesn't matter.
I've heard that word before.
Point being, I had no idea what it meant, and what it means is essentially
Yeah.
they are on the outside of the system.
Hmm.
And
Like
they
ostracized.
yes, exactly. So let me actually just pull it up because I just learned it. So let me not act like I know anything. An outcast is a pariah, a
Yeah.
member of a group of castes concentrated in the Indian states of Kerala and Tamil, whatever, included in the caste system there. So now what's happening here is that apparently the Pentagon has made a final offer to Anthropic, seeking unrestricted military use of its AI capabilities ahead of a Friday deadline. The details include, so far, this is from the Kobasi letter, that Pete Hegseth is threatening to label Anthropic as a supply chain risk. Two, Anthropic is resisting use of its AI capabilities to surveil Americans. Anthropic is resisting the use of its AI capabilities for lethal military missions as well. And the thing is that Anthropic was recently awarded a $200 million government contract. And Anthropic now has just over 24 hours to respond. And this is a pivotal moment for AI warfare and surveillance. What are your initial thoughts on some of that, Ben?
So many thoughts. Um, from like a people perspective, it smells like desperation from somewhere. Which source, I'm not entirely sure, but that's definitely pretty insane. I'll throw it back at you.
I mean, I'm happy that Mr. Dario is at least putting up somewhat of a fight, or at least letting us know that maybe they're virtue signaling, right? Like maybe
Mhm.
this is just like they want this headline of like, we're trying to fight for your rights and we don't want to surveil against you or do these evil things. I mean, I think it's tough. I mean, it's funny because we had the last administration and this was the same problem. It was like, uh the government wants access to these tools, right? And it comes back to the conversation we were having with Charles, where these corporations become the arm through which the things that the government can't do get done. And so
Yes.
now the government wants that back, right? They're like, well, but I still want access to this, and they kind of
Mhm.
can, they have over the past 20, especially with the internet age, right? So point being, same thing with Facebook, same thing with Twitter. It's probably why Jack Dorsey left, right? He was like, look, dude, I'm done with this. I don't want to
Totally.
be doing this. And so it just all comes down to uh, when you have a technology that is a national security threat and a national security opportunity, the government's going to get involved. And um, it's interesting to see that they're trying to fight back to some degree, at least. But I mean, we know how this is going to end.
Yeah, well, I'm always hard pressed to believe that they haven't been involved the whole time,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So, like, a lot of this is political theater is a word that we say all the time because it's an accurate depiction.
I mean, they took the money, right? They've been awarded money from the government, right? So they've been there to some degree, right? If that
Mhm.
was happening. And they've been working that's the whole thing, is that they've been working very closely with all these AI models are working very closely with the government for I mean many different reasons. So,
Mhm.
anyways, yeah,
I
back
think
in the newsroom.
a lot of these headlines and all the stuff that comes out with AI is just a further, like, microscope on the flawed nature of a lot of these systems that we discussed today, right? Because it's impossible to expect people to understand all these systems, but it's becoming less and less impossible because of the tool of AI, kind of ironically, right?
Mhm.
Of you can now summarize things that the people who wrote those rules, they were kind of banking on the fact that you wouldn't know. You know what I mean? Like, they always say, like, "Oh, yeah, we're writing it for the people." It's like, okay, you know that the average person is never going to even come across this in most cases, let alone understand it.
Right. Yeah. So here we are. The actual debate is going down in that regard of whether or not the DoD and Anthropic are going to be hanging out together.
Mhm,
So, next news story I had is that the OCC, the Office of Comptroller of the Currency, which is essentially a branch of the United States Treasury, just issued a proposed rule to implement the Genius Act, and they're seeking public comment. So, I was trying to say this and to articulate this earlier today about what's happening with the legislative process here in the United States and how there's an opportunity to actually participate. And right here, right now, with the OCC asking for what we think as Americans should be implemented here and how it should be done, there's a way to go and do this now. So this notice has come out about the Genius Act implementation. Obviously, like Charles said, you might want to take this and drop it into a chat GPT of some sort and get some information, but this is an opportunity to participate in the rulemaking process. That this does happen with big sorts of legislation. The SEC has done this as well in the past with many different rulemaking efforts that they've had. And the OCC is essentially the Treasury itself. So this is an important time and an important opportunity to participate in what stablecoins and the issuance of them could look like.
it's a massive thing because I think they're going it's the most obvious thing for a non-crypto person to start getting involved in, so, like, how we handle stablecoins is a very, very big issue. I think people, they overlook the significance of it for multiple reasons, but it's definitely a very serious thing that we've talked about on the show too. Like if you guys want to learn more about stablecoins, if you go back to our older episodes, we have a whole episode on stablecoins slash and Tether, which is the biggest one I think still, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And is Circle the second?
Yes, correct.
Cool. And
Yep.
we forgot to bring that up, but Circle just got brought to Cardano. It's USDCX, so it has some privacy tech built into it, is my understanding, to work with Midnight as well.
Oh,
Is, m-
okay.
is my
Very
understanding.
nice.
So we didn't bring that up during the conversation, but that's something that they got going on too.
Very nice. Yeah, I was seeing Charles was like, kind of talking about how fractured the systems are right now. And part of it is because once the big guys got big, they started charging for integrations, right? So,
Hmm.
uh, a company like Circle, right? He was basically breaking down the fact that like, oh, this is supposed to be open source technology, but yet you're being a gatekeeper to how to actually integrate with these different blockchains.
Hmm.
And I guess they worked something out over there.
Yeah, they made a deal
That's
for sure.
cool. So the next piece that I wanted to bring up was what's going on here with a little company called Stripe, which is one of the larger payment companies, software companies in the world. And they are weighing a PayPal acquisition as they reach a $159 billion valuation. So Stripe is a private company, it's a privacy traded. It's a private company, and so they just disclosed a new valuation. And because of that, they are also talking about potentially buying up the public company, PayPal. And now PayPal has had a rough, I guess, yeah, since 2021. It's very interesting. I was watching a lot of these payments companies very closely back in 2021. And
Wow.
ever since then, I mean, these payments companies have been just decimated. You're talking about, and maybe this is share issuance, right? So maybe that's could be part of what's happening here. I haven't watched PayPal that closely, but I think you see the same thing for Block as well. If I'm being honest, XYZ, yeah, like same concept here. Absolutely decimated
Looks like
from
the
the
same
highs of
chart.
around 300. It's almost the same exact chart. And then it kind of mirrors Arc in a lot of ways. I think Arc is probably doing a little bit better now due to the fact that they're not only payments companies and are in Tesla and other tech, but these payments companies have been stuck in a range since 2022 after getting decimated into 2021 rate hiking cycle that happened at that time. There was a lot of tightening, so a lot of financial companies might have not been able to perform as well during that time. So, anyways, that's what's going on. Stripe is thinking about acquiring the company. They're probably going to, pick it up at a nice discount. I mean, PayPal is an incredible brand, incredible customer base, and people still use it. I mean, I still use it actually.
I saw Elon go on Stripe's podcast. That'd be an interesting thing because Elon was part of the founding team of PayPal, and then he's obviously connected to the whole PayPal mafia. And so then Stripe buys PayPal. I wonder if that's like a X buys both.
Oh snap! If X buys Stripe, bro, it's over. If Elon Musk has Stripe, I mean,
They
it's
wouldn't let that
done deal.
happen, would they?
I mean, the problem is, well, let me say not the problem. The thing is that right now, this administration is supposed to be pretty pro M&A. And so last year or 2 years ago, definitely not. Even, what's the company that you hate so much that I love so much again, where you can
Oh,
connect your bank account?
I don't hate them. They just don't work very well for me. Plaid or Plaid.
Plaid. Yeah, like they didn't let Visa buy Plaid back then, which probably is fair. But I think deals like that are about to start getting done. And probably by the end of this year, we start seeing some major acquisitions. So we'll see. We'll see how that kind of stuff goes. Um, Another thing that happened yesterday is Nvidia had their earnings release, and people were like, "What's going on?" Because they beat their earnings expectations. They posted $68 billion in quarterly revenue, yet markets are obviously unimpressed. And so Nvidia's cash flow jumped by 20 billion year over year, and the company killed all of its expectations, knocked them out of the park. But the stock went from being slightly positive on the release to being greatly negative. And if you've been watching the stock market today, we've had a pretty massive slide. So zooming in a little bit, Nvidia has been a major contributor to that slide, down a little bit on the day after a positive beating of the earnings, which this is down 4% on the day. So it's incredible to also just see how like this is the Nasdaq and that's Nvidia, right?
Mm,
So it's kind of ridiculous how much influence these singular companies have on the indexes, but we've talked about that a ton.
so much. How much of the S&P now, does NVIDIA have a loan?
Let's see.
Is NVIDIA
It's probably like 5% or something crazy like that.
the number I'm seeing here, this is probably wrong. Let me see. Wait, 7.23%.
Wow.
Crazy, bro.
That's wild, man.
Get everyone to buy an index. Preach for years. The S&P 500 index is the way to go. And then control the
Yikes.
index with like 10 companies. Brilliant.
So the next story is eBay making some layoffs. eBay is going to lay off 800 of their staff, which doesn't sound like too much, but it's actually 6% of their full time employees. They're taking steps to reinvest across their business and align their structure with strategic priorities, which will affect certain roles across our workforce, the company said in a statement. We're grateful for the contributions of the employees impacted and are committed to supporting them with care and respect. So this came a week after eBay said it would acquire Depop, which is a secondhand clothing app popular with Gen Z and millennials, from Etsy for $1.2 billion in cash.
Interesting.
I
Y-
find go ahead, sorry.
No, you're good. Go.
There's like a little bit of a corner of the internet that's somehow still like surviving. Um like who's I don't know. I haven't used eBay since I don't know, like early 2010s or something.
Bro, I I've I've occasionally used eBay. I use it for very specific things. Like, one thing that I'll try to buy is, say, like, vintage Jaguars clothing.
Mm,
Well, especially
okay.
where I am, I'm so far from the team, like, I'm not gonna walk into a thrift store and find a frickin' Jags thing, right?
So true.
So that's one thing, and then, like, old video games, I've done it with that as well.
Okay. Okay.
But eBay, I've been an eBay user since I was, like, a little kid, man. My mom used to be big on buying eBay, like, stuff from that, like purses and stuff.
Mm.
I remember one time I wanted these Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I put the max bid. I didn't know how it worked, right? So I'm like, "Yo, I really want these Yu-Gi-Oh cards."
Oh,
And so I
snap.
bought with my mom's credit card, like, hundreds of dollars for, like, 6 pieces of cardboard. Bro, she was so pissed. So that's my eBay experience. But yeah, they still do exist. It's definitely a very niche use case. I think when you're that early on technology, like, there's so many ways that you can take it, and I think that people just came and innovated on what they did first, and they still have their own little niche pocket of the internet. I think you coined that pretty well. But yeah, it'll be curious to see how like a purchase like this would innovate things.
Yeah, man. Well, no, that was, the layoffs. They're just laying people off.
Well, I thought you said they're buying something,
No, 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 no. That was for, Stripe buying PayPal, but
but
eBay is just laying off 6% of their workforce.
I thought you
Or
said they
they
bought
you're right.
something
Yeah,
from
you're right,
Etsy.
you're right, you're sorry. We did say that they would acquire Depop. Sorry, from Etsy. That's right.
Got it.
Sorry,
And yet the layoffs, did they no, you're good. Did they specify which part of the company?
It didn't really hear now,
Okay.
which is it said we're taking reinvesting across our business and align our structure with strategic priorities. So,
'Cause these numbers can always read in so many different ways,
mm,
right? Because a number can sound significant, but if it's people that have a lot of churn anyways, like, is that significant? Do you know what I'm saying? There's so many
yeah,
things that,
yeah,
context really matters, and we are given almost no context with these
yeah.
headlines.
I feel like if it was something good, they would say it. Like, it's just our customer service people or something, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? But I don't know. It's interesting.
yeah.
But they're pivoting. I mean, I'm also seeing that they are at $3 billion in revenue and that's a 15% increase. Um, so, just to think about that, like a company that people have completely forgotten about, or at least for me, I've completely forgotten about it. It's
eBay?
just sitting out there cooking at $3 billion a year in revenue.
Yeah, eBay, I'm seeing a comment here saying, eBay's killing it. Where is it? Is killing it, especially with the tariffs and the younger generation rejecting fast fashion. That's cool. They could
Mm,
experience a big resurgence on that front,
wow. That's
right? Because
fascinating to think about.
what's the antithesis to the whole what's that?
Sheen.
Shein, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say it's thrift, right? But then how do you take that to another level? Is it's personalized thrift, right? Where it becomes a global marketplace. I think that's really the solution to a lot of our problems is that we always think we got to throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's like, why can't we just keep what's good and then eliminate what's bad? Like, that is a possible reality. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Um, I never thought about eBay like that, but that's a good idea. You painted the picture very clearly of like the global thrift shop.
Yeah. And this person said thrift store stock gets picked through and put on eBay instead of shops. Yeah, that is true too. So like the individual thrift shop person kind of
Mm,
gets screwed a little bit because these resellers will go buy the stuff and then put it on there. But these shops could do the same thing.
yeah, it's like a little geo arbitrage play.
Yeah.
Speaking on this, I saw this headline. I don't actually know exactly what's going on, but Shein's CEO breaks public science silence about something. I don't even know what's going on. Maybe someone in the chat has a clue of what this is about, but I just saw this headline come out, I think today. So um, their elusive CEO. I don't know. Also, is he elusive? Like,
I have no
um,
idea.
so he's hailing the Chinese roots. He emerges from the shadows to hail Chinese roots. Okay, very interesting.
So
I don't know.
Shein is the one that's like super, super cheap for clothes, right? It's kind
Mhm,
of like the
mhm.
team move for clothing.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw someone from their team explain how they operate, and it's pretty insane, man. Like how quickly they can spin up something based off of a trend on, say, TikTok, and then create that product basically on demand. They basically created like fashion on demand, which great for consumerism, horrible for the world. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Um, Next thing here is from Microsoft. Microsoft just pledged $50 billion to tackle AI inequality as it warns of a growing divide. Now, basically, they're on track to invest 50 billion by the end of the decade to bring artificial intelligence to lower income countries as concerns mount over the technology's potential to deepen inequality.
Uh,
So they made this announcement in New Delhi, India. Policymakers are increasingly worried that the unequal adoption of AI risks widening income and development gaps between rich and poor countries. So, mm, this United Nations development project called for global cooperation on standards and safety to ensure technology functions as a shared public good rather than a concentrated advantage.
mhm,
So, yeah, the big thing here is obviously there's a chance that Microsoft doesn't want to see countries getting left behind is the thing that they're saying here. Um, I haven't seen a whole lot about exactly what they're doing with this,
mhm,
but okay, to help build the data centers. Okay, so they're going to make data centers crucial to providing computing power needed to run AI models in, I guess, these regions. Um, so, anyways, you know, good headline, beautiful headline. What do you think of this?
the problem with things like this is that that is true and that is a reality, but do we want them to be the ones solving it? Because is that really solving it, or is it creating a different problem?
Do you see a direct, obvious new problem from it?
Potentially, but would they even realize that it's a problem, right? Because the whole power of it would be that people wouldn't even realize it's taking place. So, yeah, any of these big corporations, when they try to do shit like this, maybe I'm too cynical, but I'm always like, why are you doing this, man? Like,
It reminds me of Facebook. So Facebook, back in the day, they had, I'm sure they still have this. It's a nonprofit that literally gives people cell phones in Africa or whatever. And when I saw that, I was like, "Well, this is a fascinating concept." You've gotten to the point to where you're so big, you've gotten everyone on the internet to get your service and use it, that the only next thing for you to do is to literally just go out there and hand out cell phones
yeah,
to get more
create new
users.
users. Yeah. I do think that if we go the open source route, which I'm hoping we continue to push towards, like that could swing back, hopefully. But yeah, it's insane to think about the power that is created. And we always talk about the power of consumption. In the last wave of the internet, like you kind of had to seek things out. Yes, algorithms were dictating what you see, but you played a role in it to a degree, right? And there was a buffer. Like you knew that this was an app that you were consuming from, or a person you were consuming from. I think why AI is so scary is that people really put their guards down for that thing.
No doubt.
Like they've told them like everything you could possibly tell, like their deepest, darkest secrets, and they're just disclosing this stuff. So, yeah, I'm hoping that we end up in an open source place for a lot of these things.
Next piece here is deep into the crypto world. Um, so there's a whole hoopla going on around this Jane Street investigation that we brought up on Tuesday.
It's everywhere, man.
Yeah. And so Zach XBT, who's huge figure in the space, he's actually done so much for crypto as things have rolled out. Whenever there's a big hack, he's the one that goes out and like figures out what actually happened.
Mm.
And he'll post these threads and make these articles of like, here's what actually happened. Here's the people to look at. Like, whoever's trying to hide, like, here's the answers to who these people are. And so he's basically come out and said, major investigation dropping today on one of crypto's most profitable businesses where multiple employees abused internal data to insider trade over a prolonged period of time. And now the weird thing about this, right, is that there's a poly market now, right, that has been
Of
created
course there
around
is.
this. So Mert said, "This is the most crypto thing ever." Zach writes announcement about insider crime. People create betting market for who it's about. The team knows they're about to be exposed and can also bet on that market with insider info.
Wow.
Insiderception.
Dude, that's crazy. Because then likely, maybe it's a criminal case, but if it's not a criminal case, it'd be max what you're paying a fine, and you pay the fine with your winnings from the poly market.
Right.
That'd be crazy.
Wow. That's a crazy thought for sure. So this guy came out and said Zach has the opportunity to make a lot of money here as well, right? Even Zach, if he knows this information, then which company will Zach XBT expose for insider trading? And you can see the list with World Liberty Financial being the number one
Mm,
in the running for who it might have been. There's Pump Fund. That would be Wild Finance. I don't know what it is, or Bybit, Jupiter, and Coinbase. So, anyways,
wild.
that's going on. And there's been some cool memes that we'll dive into a little bit later. But there was another piece that I really wanted to get Charles's reaction to because he would actually probably have some really cool things to say about it. But Ben, since you're here with me, man,
What's
next
up?
next best option for something like this. I want to get your reaction. So this guy here, Alex Prompter, has highlighted that there's this article or excuse me research paper that's been announced. It's called "Large Scale Online Denonymization with LLMs." So in summary, this paper breaks down how they've run an experiment, and these are some have like really big researchers in Zurich and somewhere else. I think like heavy online. I don't know. They do research and stuff, and it was released on the Cornell website. It's like published kind of research. It's not like from Cornell, but they published it on their archives. And the idea here is that they've found a way to pretty cheaply connect people's identities online.
Hmm.
So if you had a anonymous account and you had a real account, they basically they've found a way to be able to, for like $1 to $4 per query, connect these two accounts so that they know who your fake identity actually is. Because they're using LLMs to do it, it can be done pretty cheaply and pretty quickly. They said that on Hacker News, they've identified 67% of the users correctly. And when the system makes a guess, it's right 90% of the time. And so, anyways, people are kind of freaking out about this. They're saying, well, is it really all that smart? Or is it just the fact that people aren't, like, if they knew that this experiment was being run, right, they probably wouldn't be releasing so many details about themselves on the anonymous accounts,
Hmm.
right? Or they chose anonymous accounts that were like obviously talking about themselves, right? Kind of a thing. So, anyways, that's like not making as much of a wave as I think it should. And in fact, this guy has community notes. Let's see what this says. The dataset was drawn from public, non anonymous online profiles. Researchers later anonymized posts to test re identification, but the original users shared detailed personal information knowing their profiles were identifiable.
That's cheating now.
I think so.
Yeah. But I do see this stuff becoming an eventual reality, though. Like, because I think people don't think often, man, in terms of their behavior online and stuff like that. Like, a lot of times, everything you're doing online, it leaves clues, right? And like people usually type the same way.
Mhm.
People are interconnected. They use the same sort of stuff across everywhere. Like even with just, I had one scenario where someone was like trolling me. Then I found out who the person was because they used the same picture on their profile picture for the troll account on their personal, what was it? Etsy or not Etsy. What's that stuff? Pinterest. Pinterest. So like someone was screwing with me a lot, and then I reverse image searched their profile picture that they had used for the Instagram account, and I found out who it was. Right. So like this stuff's not that hard to do. There's so many things that are interconnected. So yeah, that's not like shocking to me.
Yeah, and they said the reason that they made this and put the research out, because like obviously the concern is like if this is true, then why would you tell everyone how to do it, right?
Very good point.
Um, so so they defended that by saying that they recognize that that could be the case, but also that it's better to publish it than to not and not have people know that this is possible. Essentially, it was with the justification.
Got it.
So I thought that was fascinating. And someone in the chat just made me aware of something that I had not seen, and this
What's
is
that?
really good. So shout out to you guys in the chat. Um, Apparently, Mr. Beast's editor was just suspended by prediction market Kalshi after near perfect trading success.
Well,
So, Mr. Beast himself has been hit with a 2-year suspension from Kalshi after allegedly turning inside information from his job into profitable trades tied to his boss's videos. Excuse me. An employee of Mr. Beast's has had this happen.
but you don't think that Beast with this new bank, I'm saying that in air quotes, isn't gonna open their own prediction market?
They probably could. Um, they probably could. So it wouldn't be surprising if they did. And what's interesting about this is that, like, I saw someone in the chat was saying that they were arrested, but I don't think that that's the case. I think what's happened here is that the
Just
platform
banned?
just kicked them off.
Mm,
And so, but are these arrestable offenses? You know what I mean? Like,
true.
why is it not, right? Like, I don't know. So, anyways, we'll move forward here. And the reason I question why is it not is because if you were to do it in other markets, right, that are regulated, it would be. Okay. So, and it wouldn't be necessarily that you get arrested, but you would have to face some sort of penalties or fines or something, right? Like pay the money back that you've made off of doing things that weren't necessarily super legitimate at the least. But, anyways, moving
Totally.
forward, we had this video circulating about some robots in China, and I thought this was fascinating, so I'm going to share it. Ben, did you see that?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think you did. So let me run that back real quick.
Sorry, I was reading the chat. That's crazy. Why do we want that?
That's why do we want that is a great question. So that, by the way, was the chancellor of Germany that they had at the beginning of the video. And he was there, and they're talking about how he flew basically to visit this robotics company in China. Um, and so this is right here being hyped up because Tesla, the probably closest competitor to any company in China, is not capable. The Optimus bots are not capable of anything like this.
Mm,
And these robots that we just saw are for sale. Like you can go
wow.
and buy that right now.
For what sort of utility?
That's that question I have not asked or answered. And that's the other conversation that's being had in the comments. It's kind of like the combat here is Tesla can't even do this, but then other people are but like, what does this do? You know what I mean? But I mean, I think that's a little bit naive, personally, to say like, well, what does it do? It's just a dancing robot. I'm like, well, if the robot can dance and do a backflip, I think he can probably do some
Do
other
some
things
other
too.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair assumption, Keith.
So, like, I can't do a backflip. You know what I mean? Like, now that I think about it, like, shoot, can you do a backflip, brother?
I
Like,
can't.
so, so fascinating to say the least. And the fact that these are for sale, people are saying, well, this means that the US is way behind in this race. Um, so, and not anywhere near, right, being able to get to this type of level. So, that's what that one was all about. Wanted to get your reaction there.
It's wild.
This one was a lot of fun. This has actually been circulating for quite a while. I think Nicole Purvey even posted this not too long ago, but I thought it was really, really fascinating. So this is buying a house versus investing over time. Turn that audio off. Oh wait, oh wait was rough for the housing market,
Mm,
but then renting and investing versus buying a home. If you rent, you killed it over time. But what was super fascinating too was how uh, in 01, 02, anyone who was renting and investing was not winning.
mm,
And like it just signifies such a shift to me. Like, I mean, obviously we were, basically babies at that time, but what a different world it was for how Americans and people around the world looked at the concept of investing. Right?
mhm,
Talked about this a lot in Canada. You buy a home. That was the way. Um,
totally.
but that changed over time.
Yeah, that was preached every day, man. It was like, "Buy a home, buy a home, buy a home." Like, that is basically, like, when you talk about in Canada, I don't know how it's in the States, but when people talk about, like, their kids and they'll say, like, "Oh, are they doing well?" If they bought a house, that'll be the
Mm,
first thing they say.
that's really good.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, all the time. Yeah, he just like, that's a statement of success. Like, what a psyop that is.
Wow. Fascinating, man. Next thing here I wanted to get your reaction to. Rao Powell, he said, I always assumed the total addressable market for ubiquitous technology such as the internet, crypto, or AI was the population of the world. It isn't. AI agents will 2x the users of all of these in 5 years. Agents are more disruptive of total addressable market than they are of businesses. Your priors need adjustment. What are your thoughts on that, Ben? Any thoughts?
I think we're all guessing a lot when it comes to agentic commerce or agents in general, or people's appetite for them, the true utility of them. Like, how much does the human need to be involved for one to be successful or not? Right. And like, what is the upper range for success for one of those things? So, yeah, I think everyone is guessing. But I think that Charles's thesis for how he sees there being like two separate internets, that'll probably become a thing just simply because what we are using is getting less usable by the day due to bots and things of that nature or agents.
Facts, man. 100%. Next piece here was something that you brought to my attention, and I thought it was really good. And back to, okay, I did not a good job of documenting it, but essentially, we had this guy talking about Mr. Beast
Hmm.
and his future. So let me quickly play this
Yeah,
clip.
this guy goes by, I think, Thread Guy.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
am not trolling, brothers. I am not trolling when I tell you a Mr. Beast and Nick Fuentes political card under a third party is not off the table. That is, you think I'm joking. You think I'm trolling with this segment? You think this segment's a fucking joke? I'm telling you that there's only one way this ends if it goes as ridiculous as it's going to go. Why else does he want finance? Bro, he's fucking rich. He's a billionaire. Every video gets more views than the YouTube video. He has his product in every 7-Eleven across the country. His burger is the one-click order from every delivery app ever. His action figures in every Target in America. He's soon going to be managing the biggest content creators in the world. What more do you want? Seriously. What more do you want if you're Mr. Beast? What is left? What more do you want? The
It's
only
done.
political power. That's it.
Yeah, I don't think that would be attempted, but I don't know if they'd be able to execute on it. His connection with this audience relies on frequency of touch points because there's not that much depth of connection because the videos are so transactional. So, like, let's say new platforms emerge. Like, I don't know if he ends up with the same situation.
So the one thing that I would give to this guy's point is that when you think about presidential candidates and races and things of that nature, I think a lot of it comes down to like, does anyone know who you
Just
are?
awareness.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like that's what we've seen, at least in the US over the past, the past 3 or so election cycles was like Trump was just known, right? You had Bloomberg running, but like only super rich people or people who are into finance know who Bloomberg is.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Like no one
Hmm.
knows who that is, even though he's a billionaire. You know what I mean? And might have some ideas for how to make the country better. But
Yeah, man. Yeah,
so
that's a great way to frame it because even if people don't have a relationship with Mr. Beast, they typically know who he is, or even if they don't know who he is, they know the concept of who he is.
right.
Do you know what I mean? And so that
Mhm.
definitely gives you a massive advantage. So I would not be shocked in his lifetime to see him run for some sort of political thing.
Yeah, I mean, it would come down to at that point if he really wanted to, right? I don't know if he would really want to, but we'll
Yeah,
see.
who knows? He definitely wants to win at like everything he touches. Like he preaches that he works very hard,
Mm.
but this is definitely a different beast, no pun intended. So we'll see.
So this right here, I thought was a really well piece put together. I don't know if this guy made this or not, but I'm seeing this post from Jesse Cohen, and it talks about what happens in 2036 when 80% of jobs have been replaced by AI and robotics.
80% of people
This was really well made.
lost their jobs.
They had no money, no purpose, but they had a lot of time on their hands.
The less people actually did physical work, the more they wanted to appear as if they did.
What if we could use the energy of humans to power the machines that took away their jobs?
Crazy.
Solved our need for energy and your need for purpose.
AI candy. Yeah, man. That's I just thought that was funny because like that's how crazy things are getting. Like the discussions that we're having are that level of crazy, bro.
Yeah, like it's really good because it's crazy, but it's also like, well, not that unbelievable that could be a suggestion that gets made, right? I don't know. Yeah, it just feels like a real movie or something that you could watch and actually still be entertained throughout the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, AI video is getting pretty crazy good, man.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Yeah.
is pretty terrifying. Like that, the potential outcome of that is that's also why I think a lot of these things are going to get pushed into place where like blockchain technology gets used whether we want it or not. Because how do you verify like legitimacy or posted by a person or like all of these things come to play, which then obviously leads into there's just so many interconnected things.
The DID conversation, the
Yeah.
decentralized identity, and that's something I would have loved to also wrap it.
I wish we had more time. I know.
Yeah. So another thing that happened was Citadel, the large market maker owned by King Griffin. They made a response to the Citrini article. I kind of just wanted to briefly touch on it. They basically made the counter argument that we saw everywhere else, but another piece of it that they put in was just because the technology evolves rapidly does not mean that it will be adopted as rapidly. So they say, look, AI adoption trends do not look non-linear. The adoption trends, right?
Yes.
Versus
that's kind of been my whole thing the whole time.
Yeah.
Is that all these predictions are made in a vacuum?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's a great point. Yep, that is your point. So that's kind of the big argument that they added, and then also the constraints on the energy side,
which are very real.
Yep. So they're like, well, to get to that level of technology, there would have to have been like a 10,000x or whatever they said in the actual energy output as well. I think those are the main things there. I can go into some funny stuff that I saw.
Yeah, let's do it. Are we into the memes?
We're into the memes.
Let's hit the memes.
All right. So this one was a video that Sam Clemente's guy, I believe, they make videos together. Pio Censo. That's a very Italian name. I'm going to imagine he's Italian. He's made this video here about Michael Saylor if he went on Shark Tank. And this is even Michael Saylor apparently retweeted this. So hold on.
No way.
Hello, Sharks. I'm looking for 1% of $200 trillion of digital capital backed by digital credit in exchange for 0% of my company, Microsoft.
You haven't explained how I make money, which is the most important thing.
Because there's no chance of you making money on this. First, we had Bitcoin, which is digital capital. Now we have Strategy pioneering digital credit. In the future, we're going to have digital money. We issue shares of our common stock to pay the dividend of our preferred equities. Then we use our different preferred equities to pay for the dividends of their other preferred equities.
Let's leave all the passion and all this kumbaya. Leave it aside for a second. In the end, Shark Tank's about making money.
Isaac Newton would have invented Bitcoin if he could have. In fact, he probably did.
I'm so frustrated. I have no idea. I really don't know what your business is. I don't know what your strategy is. I really don't know anything.
I went to MIT. We sold Nike Dunks and they're trading for like $2,000 on eBay.
Why are you here?
Sure, you can invest in a company like Nvidia or Microsoft or Tesla or Amazon or Apple that's trading at a 20 to 60x price to book. Or you can trade our company at a 1.19 MNAV during a Bitcoin bear market.
You're out of here. See you, buddy. Goodbye. Take the broom.
Evan. Jeffrey Epstein said I was autistic.
That's a pretty good sales prop.
Don't buy it. I'm out.
Yeah.
Those guys, go ahead.
No.
I was gonna say, those guys, I'm sure they've weathered a pretty tough storm with the bear market and crypto being so uncool. But when stuff turns around, like think about the opportunity they created for themselves.
The Sam Clement, like the guys doing the
Those
comedy.
two guys, they work together. Because what other comedic forces could possibly understand the culture?
That's so true, dude.
right?
That's so
So
true.
they're playing the long game and like commendable to them because I'm sure they've had some hard times, but like keep doing what you guys are doing if you guys ever see this. And I think it'll pay off for you. It's like the movie Dodgeball. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them. I think it will.
Yeah, dude, that's a really good point. And that stuff, that stuff goes on forever. That culture, what's
Totally.
happening now, and like, if MicroStrategy goes under, right, like that becomes legendary.
And how like think of their sponsors, right? Like other
True,
comedians are like scratching
true.
and clawing to make enough views to like hopefully get shows going, right?
Yeah,
They're gonna have financial companies
true.
sponsoring their comedy. Different equation.
Very true. Right here, this guy said, ChatGPT, I need your help. I said, how can I help you? She texted me like this. And basically, this is like annotation for like, I guess, love you or whatever. And he
Yeah.
asked, what does that mean? And ChatGPT said, that means you're less important than 3 others.
That's awesome. That's so good.
That was pretty
That's fair.
good. Yeah, I mean, it's doing its best. And then Morning Brew had a good one. They said, the market will regulate itself. The market. You want a lot of iced coffee? Dunkin' has a bucket for you.
Are you a Dunkin'? You don't drink coffee, period, right?
I don't.
Did you ever, or
I
you just
have.
never?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have. And what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna ask, when you did drink coffee, did you have a favorite?
Oh, I mean, I'm like I was a very non-real
You were a
coffee drinker.
utilitarian.
Yeah, like, well, no, not even. I was the other end of it, where if it had sugar in it, I'd drink it. You know what I mean?
Oh, you just wanted the taste.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I'm the other way. I drink strictly black coffee.
Word.
Yeah,
That's
but
cool. I mean, I started to get into that towards the end of my coffee days
got it.
because I realized how bad it is to just be consuming crazy
All that
amounts of
stuff.
sugar like that.
But America, you guys go so ham with the abundance on everything, like the land of excess. I remember going to trips to Florida, and there was this random like buffet company called the Pandarosa or something like that. And I was just like so blown away by the concept. We have buffets here too, but like not like you guys do, bro. I was like, this is crazy. And as a fat kid, I was like, let's go. It was such a wild concept. But yeah, you guys definitely go ham with like the big gulps and all that crap.
Crazy, bro.
Wow. I do think that people are waking up to that more of like unlimited anything isn't actually good.
Right.
I think people are finally realizing that. And I also think that in a digital economy, blockchain plays a big role in that.
Mm.
Right, like the whole concept of NFTs is digital scarcity, right?
Mm-hmm.
People have too much of everything. There's too much content. There's too much. That's like the problem in our first world, is that we're so accustomed to like more being better, and that's not actually true.
Mm. Good point, man. In a world of abundance, scarcity becomes valued.
There you go. That was a bar.
And so, me following unnecessary rules of my company. Let me take the audio off.
Man, there's a lot of that though.
So much, man.
Because like, the human part comes into all these organizations, and these power structures take place, the bureaucracy, and a lot of people have ego out the ass, right? Where they're like, oh, like this is how we do it. This is how I did it when I was your age. So this is how you're gonna have to do it. It's idiotic, but it's there.
100%, man. I figured anyone with a job at all, right, is going to be very, very understanding of that one. So, what'd you see?
I wish, man, the chat's always so funny, man. But this tech issue, I can't really read it properly. So if I'm ever looking over here like a crazy person, Keith, I'm just trying to read the chat.
Heard, man. You might also be crazy. It's all good. It's better to be crazy than not.
Oh, I'm definitely crazy for sure.
This guy, David Herman, he said, incredible. I asked Claude Code to help parent my children, and now it's tucking them into bed, making sure they get their vitamins, and dropping them off at school. I've packaged the whole setup so you can avoid parenting too.
Wow.
The integration, prompt library, and walkthrough takes about 2 minutes to set up and get running. Thought that was an interesting one at the very minimum. Is that the way in which the world is heading, right?
Positive outcome from all of this is that we should get to define what actually matters. Right?
Very true.
When everything is optional, what you do is what you decide what matters. Right? when you can outsource everything, what do you refuse to outsource?
Mm.
And I'm hopeful it's parenting. Hopefully it allows people to be amazing parents.
Right. I mean, yeah, imagine if you have the time to spend with your kids,
Well, I think a lot of parents, that they if they weren't good parents, and a lot of people in our generation always talk about like the trauma that they have. And a lot of it is because the parents just didn't have the resources or the know-how to parent. Like parenting is a very difficult challenge.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And it requires effort and focus that a lot of people were just trying to survive. So I think there's a lot of trauma out there that like people didn't do it because they're bad people. They just didn't have the time or the resources. You know what I mean?
100%, man. Um, this week, there's been this huge scandal around Jane Street. There was a lawsuit filed against them from a crypto company, basically alleging that they did some insider trading that helped to collapse Terraform and the Do Kwon situation over there. I'll quickly share some of that on my screen from the Wall Street Journal. Jane Street accused of insider trading that helped collapse Terraform.
Wow.
And because of that, there's a bunch of memes going around about this scenario. So I thought there was a couple funny ones that I wanted to share. So this one from Mando, Wrecked Mando said, realizing I could just blame Jane Street for all of my life's problems.
There's been a lot of that on Twitter, especially crypto Twitter.
100%. This one encapsulates that pretty well. He's not a bad trader. The market was manipulated by Jane Street.
We all need that, brother. We all need that.
That's Trader Mercury. And then we got one more here from Alpha Co. Jane Street pushed my grandma down the stairs, he said.
How dare they?
And I thought that was pretty good because, at that point, it's like, listen.
May as well see what I can get.
Yeah.
If I'm throwing blame, I may as well see how far I can take it.
This one was not even funny. I think this is kind of just true for me. Vlad Aurelix4 said, I deleted all social media apps. Now I doom scroll in the web versions. I was like, oh, yeah, you got me with that one. Definitely happens with me on X. X has been the one that has been my problem there.
That's the one that I could see having that experience. But if you were to go consume short form content on the desktop experience, it's not the same.
Yeah. I guess that's why that one also didn't go super off because it's only relatable on Twitter there.
Very true.
That's truly where it's at, what that's happening.
And people are already out there doing it.
Yeah, exactly. This next one here. Okay, so Baby Keem, a popular rapper in the United States, he said, how do you fix OpenClaw internal reasoning leaking? This was yesterday at 7:45. So the OpenClaw founder actually he actually commented and he said that the update fixed it.
Wow.
And so anyways, I just thought this was very fascinating. He said, this guy Theo said, Baby Keem is using OpenClaw and you're still writing code by hand. And then I saw something else here, just kind of celebrity related. I couldn't understand. I don't know what's happening here, but Sydney Sweeney is always on the internet. She's always being celebrated. And
yeah. Where did that all start?
It's a great question because it's fascinating. It's fascinating to me.
Because she was like, I had never even heard of her, and now I can't go on the internet. She's like one of the 20 characters that like you always hear about.
Always. Like if anything happens, it's like somehow Sydney Sweeney gets wrapped up into it. And so this week it was about NVIDIA. So this one was breaking. Sydney Sweeney reveals in a CNBC interview that she was long NVIDIA going into earnings. Quote, we're on the edge of compute to cheap to meter. We need 1000x more compute. NVIDIA is a structural winner in the AI supercycle, she shared. So obviously, a little bit of fiction here, but they're not the only ones that have done this. Someone else also went in on this. They said, Sydney Sweeney has broken ties with Evercore PCA. Discount to NAV can be an illusion. You're really underwriting valuation lag, appraisal subjectivity, and quarter-to-quarter mark volatility, she noted. So I don't get the joke in particular, but fascinating at the least to see how much she has permeated all of culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I won't say
what? Okay. If you want to say it, just go for it. But we talked about here about how the internet has become very siloed. And so there are a few characters that break across the niches, right? And so then they also become, so in the concept in marketing is in operating in this environment, you want to try to leverage borrowed attention to build off of things that have already been done, people that people already understand, et cetera, and so forth. So the fact that you're able to do that with her across all of these like super sub pockets speaks to how she's transcended niches.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's definitely something to be studied there, without a doubt. So, last thing on my end, Ben, is to just go over a couple of comments from the last couple of episodes. So, we did Don't Buy into the AI Doomsday Hype. And a couple comments. Matthew, always in the comments, we appreciate you. He said, "Man, I absolutely love Ben's lens of incentivization, where he consistently reminds the audience to be thinking critically about what could be happening behind the scenes and urging viewers to be creating potential theses as to why people are posting what and when." Ben was nice and he went back and responded. He says that the world would be better if we fix these systems. And, anyways, I just thought that was a really solid
Super
comment.
nice, and he's far too
Yep.
kind.
Yep. I just saw this one actually just now, but this guy, Flight School Custom Footwear, what up? This is a solid duo. I love how Ben is connected to the esoteric side. He truly understands how massive worldwide life-altering manifestations are brought into being through all of us expressing our emotions in a hive mind way. If everyone is scared of AI, then it will turn out to be bad for all of us. But if we can change our perspective and be excited, it will work in our benefit. We are the creators, and they need our concentrated thoughts and emotions to fuel the machine. And Keith is locked into the exoteric side, where he really understands the way markets move and companies work. The best thing you guys can do now is to speak to each other about these topics and teach one another what you know. If Keith truly understood the full esoteric side, you guys will explode off the charts. Just saw this, so I just wanted to read it out. Very
That guy's a
interesting.
lot smarter than me. But what I will say is that I would give you credit there. I think Keith does grasp it a lot more. I just think that when he comes and speaks on these things, he's trying to serve the role of like a counterbalance for that. Because I think if we were both going down that direction, I don't think the show would be fun.
Yeah, my goal is definitely to even get better at trying to really lean in the other direction when we get there and see where, um, because I could, yeah, just be like, yeah, Ben, you're right. But
Yeah, it
there's
doesn't
certain
serve
things
anything.
about too, that we might be able to take from it. So yeah, but yeah,
No,
I get it though.
no, I think that's why we started the show in the first place was the yin and yang effect of that and the ability to create a stimulating conversation because a lot of the topics that we discuss in a vacuum are incredibly dry or not approachable. But in a free flowing format like this where everyone can participate, it's crazy how easy you can learn. Right?
100%.
Like so many of these things, if you try to teach them in a classroom, they wouldn't want to do it. But if you make it a little easier to consume. Where's that one? Did I send you a picture of that person?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back. That's next. So we did an episode with Jay Claver, and we had someone leave us a comment
I think.
yesterday. Tell Williams 2551.
Mhm.
He said, "Yes, it needs to be demonstrated," and the whole episode was about the XRP domino theory and so on. He said, "Yes, it needs to be demonstrated. We can't follow you guys at all. And I don't even know if it's on purpose. Like, you don't want us to get it. So here's what all of us do. You have this 2 hour and 45 minute video or 3 hour video, whatever it is. We zip all the way to the last 5 minutes. We don't want to listen to your ish if you don't give us a recap that we can understand. We never come back to your videos ever. I'm 62. I want to learn about this ish, but you guys don't want to teach us and make a change. You know where most of the money is. It's in old people's hands. You know who's not watching your videos? Old people. You know how many people, you know how many more views you would get? How many more fans you would get if you explained it to us? How much more money we'd be flowing in? Come on, guys, do better. I struggle with that because there's not a lot of punctuation.
You're good.
But yeah, I mean, Ben, you definitely had some thoughts that you wanted to share on that.
I understand their frustration. I think they're doing a lot of finger pointing and none of this.
Mhm.
Right? Like, and we all do that. I've done it many of times in my life, right? But we do our best to try to distill this information in a way that is in layman's terms and the average person can understand. We constantly try to bring in either people or experiences or cross-reference points to have a simplified explanation of things. But when you're talking about complex subjects, you can only do that so much. Right. And if we were to do what he's saying to do, where we only talk about the simplistic nature of certain things and like stay there, we wouldn't have a show.
Mhm.
Right. So I totally understand what you're saying. And you're right. And we try to distill as much as we can. But also, like, if there's a word that you don't understand, why aren't you figuring out what that word means instead of yelling at me for you not knowing what it means? That makes no sense. And if I had to guess, it's probably a microcosm of a bigger thing, right? So we all can do that now too with AI. And so I hear your frustration. We're trying. And as we expand the media ecosystem, don't think that we're not thinking of every sub pocket. We really are, but we are two guys that are the age that we are. And so we can only do it so much. And so we're going to expand the team to have different faces, different experiences, different approaches to it that will hopefully give you what you need. And so we are thinking of you, is all that I would say. And despite that you think we're speaking ish, I still love you.
All love from us for sure. And yeah, I mean, that is a big part of the goal here is we are trying our best to get this information to the majority of the people who might not understand or have the experience in the space.
Guys, understand how impossible of a task it is to please everyone. It's fundamentally impossible. And so our job is just to stick to our thesis, which we believe in wholeheartedly, and try to find people who align with that too, right? If I were to like spend time only serving the people that probably wouldn't like it anyways, we wouldn't get anywhere.
100%, man.
So I hear you. We're working on it. We're going to be releasing some courses in the future that can hopefully act as like your 0 to 1. And maybe we even make them for like certain age groups or something.
That's a good idea.
Because then we could think of like experiences that they would understand.
Right.
So for like a 60 to 70-year-old person, like what were the key topics, figures, and people in their life that they would, like their characters, right? Like case in point, when I talked about Michael Jackson and compared him to Mr. Beast, like that got such a visceral reaction for people because of how big he was at that time, right? So how much more would the lesson sink in if we could use those figures for the different age groups? You know what I mean?
100%. And in that, you know, these would be things that we'd put out there for people to be able to just see and have. It wouldn't be like some
paid
thing or anything like that.
100%. Yeah. So we are thinking of all these things all the time. And also whenever you guys have ideas, always feel free to let us know. And if we can turn it into a reality, we will try.
Fantastic. And yeah, I mean, anything in the comments, anything that you guys in the chat want to share, anything you guys want to quickly chop it up about, let us know. I guess it was Charles, listening to Charles talking about like how we're at the point, this is kind of random, but at the point in society where older people like grandmas are now like using cell phones at least. And he's on YouTube, right? This guy potentially, right?
Yeah.
In particular, rather.
But
So
it's the mentality of it,
better.
dude. They are, and my grandpa is a freaking legend for this shit, man. Like he will listen and he will ask questions and he doesn't assume that he knows better than me because he's older, right? So like I spoke to him for like hours on this subject very recently. And he's like, Ben, most of it's going over my head, but I really appreciate you telling me. And I said, yeah, if you just let it marinate, a lot of these things will make sense because all that I'm trying to do is plant a seed that makes you conscious in an unconscious experience that social media has become. Right? All that I'm trying to do is put a buffer between you and the algorithm so it's not strictly driving the car. That is my sole intention here. That's why I throw a lot at people because I'm just trying to see what that thing is for them.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to hit you with all of it so that you can pick later which one mattered.
Your TV thing is really good. Like recognizing how TV was the only source at the time. And then in that case, right, whoever's the writer, right, gets to determine what comes next.
Reality, dude.
Yeah. And then so the writer is the algorithm now, right?
And we've also talked about how creators get created, right? Through these algorithms. There's a lot of people out there that they're probably not even negative people. They're pushing negative messages because the algorithms incentivize them to do so. And part of that is on us, right? We're like, it's human nature to a degree. Where like we are prone to pay attention to certain things. And so naturally, if you're a creator and you saw this as a dream thing for you, during your exploration phase of creating, people typically get pushed down a path. And then 5 years later, they wake up and they think they're that person, but the algorithm brought them there. Right. So I think I have this tweet and I'm going to read it out loud so I don't screw it up because I think it's a very important message here where I have it pinned on the top of my Twitter. It says, to fix a broken system, we must first forgive the flaws in others that system created. Right? Because until we do that, like we're always blaming the thing that isn't the problem, right? Like the individuals are very rarely the problem, but collectively we are the problem, right? And so if you came to like every conversation being like, where is this person right? And that was your default instead of why am I right? I have to be right. So many conversations could happen.
Very well said, man. Very well done. Fantastic. I see a lot of you guys here are saying you put in the time, trying to really figure stuff out. And yeah, I mean, it definitely is something that can take time. Someone also suggested if someone were in a position where they really wanted to learn the stuff and they have money, you could hire someone, which is what I would do if I were someone who had a lot of money. If I really wanted to understand the topic, it's also not a bad idea. Get a young kid out of high school, tell him give him an internship, teach me this stuff.
Dude, it gives you a cheat code because we're stacking layers of foundational knowledge, right? Why is Keith able to learn some stuff so fast? Is because he learned the tools of transferring education, right? So why I became obsessed with YouTube is because I was able to break through the psyop that information was only valuable if you paid for it. Do you know how many people are stuck in a box and stuck in their own created prison because they can't break free from that? They say, I can't afford the education, right? So the free stuff can't be valuable when it's all there. Like anything you could possibly learn in a college degree, for the most part, like 99%, you could find for free. But are you going to believe that when you do that and you consume that it is valuable? A lot of people, it's been trained like you got to pay for it. Otherwise, it didn't matter.
Fascinating. There's also the concept of if you pay for it, you will invest, right? Really, yourself with your own time. Right?
Totally. But if you have no money, time is an investment too. I saw someone say that in the chat earlier, and I think that's a really valuable perspective. A lot like with the whole. Actually, that's such a good comment, because if you're thinking of like, how do I push this whole decentralized future forward? Even if you have no money, you have a lot of time, like spreading the message, learning, maybe building something, right? That you could provide to help bring that reality to life. So yeah, the people in our chat are really, really smart. So I appreciate all of you guys helping this whole thing go.
Yep. Fantastic. Sir Night, I literally forced myself to work another unpaid job for 3 years after my 9 to 5, building my income replacement so I wouldn't have to be concerned with AI. Love it. And it's back to that one tweet where the guy was like, you almost have to be unemployed to keep up. It's like, or you have to literally be nonstop figuring it out. So
it's so perspective based. If you can come to this stuff with a positive lens, we're like the luckiest people of all time, right? If a lot of us say, why are you laughing? What's up?
Matthew in the chat, bet he's a G.
I love Matthew. But like if you come with a positive lens, if we're all acknowledging that these systems have been broken for a very long time, our ancestors and shit didn't even have an opportunity to fix them. Right? Because knowledge is power has been a recurring thing throughout all of history. All of knowledge is accessible to you if you decide that you want it. So that's very, very, very powerful. Oh, I'm looking for Keith. It's time for the Spotify plug. Yeah, go for it.
Let's see what's in there today. So everybody, we're here on YouTube and Twitter. If you're on X with us live, we appreciate you being here. Be sure to hit that like button for one, but also we are on Spotify. And right now we are trying to get our reviews up on Spotify. So if you will do us the massive favor on YouTube, you can look in the description and you can go to Spotify and give us a 5-star rating. It's really awesome of you to do that. We really appreciate you in advance for taking the time. We are going over there and let's see. Oh, wow. Life is a Highway down there for you guys. Life is a Highway by Rascal Flatts was the most recent
that's fire.
thing that I bumped it. So
that's good.
That's revealing.
As a motivator, guys, like we said, we're going to be releasing the Memes and Markets playlist when we get to 100, which will be a combination of how many songs for each of us should we put in there?
I mean, maybe like 25 each.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Yeah, because I was literally putting my list together last night. I was like putting way too much time into it. I'm like, I gotta make this a banger, and I gotta tell stories. So I was going through it, and I think I'm sitting at somewhere like 23. So that works for me.
My man said the Southern twang showing through today. Am I showing? Oh no,
that's awesome. Yeah, so I think I'm sitting at something like that. But anything else in the chat that y'all want us to chop it up on? This is a longer one, obviously, because we had Charles and he was awesome, super engaging, and he's so fun, man. I think in a world where everyone takes things so seriously, it's very refreshing for someone who belittles or not like in a bad way. I think he just like takes the edge off of a lot of things that are super potentially dark, right?
Yes.
Or sad. And I think you can do that, right? Like a lot of times, In Harry Potter, this is a relation that actually kind of makes sense. Is remember when like there's this one scene where their biggest fear comes out of the closet, right? And then as soon as they turn it into a joke, the fear like dissipates. There's a lot of degree of truth to that in the real world, right? Where the fear and the potential scared outcome is only possible because of the fear that preceded it.
Love it, man.
And obviously that's generalizing. People always zoom in on like super specifics and like, you're dumb because of this. Whatever, bro.
No, that's a good point, man. And what a beautiful thing. I don't know if I've seen that part of the Harry Potter, but anything that has that level of cultural influence, like the writer, J.K. Rowling, I guess, what a phenomenal concept to visualize and also just write first for people and then eventually visualizing it, whoever was the director of the movie. Because that's something that's human nature, right? At least it's always there for us. The thing that we're afraid of has power.
Mm-hmm.
And to illustrate that through an iconic movie, what a cool thing.
She does a lot of that, man. Like, I know she got a lot of hate recently because of like who doesn't get hate or who doesn't get canceled at this point if you're on the internet long enough or if you're accessible. But she, like the stories there are truly fantastic. And I think the biggest thing that I would share from that whole story is that because it was so significant, I always like to research the people behind the message. So I like looked into her a lot and I watched her really old like interviews before she was even like famous. This was after like her first book. And it was just like so cool how she knew that she had to tell the story and she could see it all in her mind. And when she would tell people, they thought she was crazy. But sometimes acting on your crazy is really your magic. No pun intended with Harry Potter, right? How many people have these skills that just because the current system doesn't reward them financially, they think they're shit? You know what I mean? And so I'm hopeful that in a good scenario, like maybe AI can open us up to stop thinking the things that we think make us weird are actually the stuff that makes us pretty dope. You know?
Love it, dude.
Pie in the sky.
We had, oh my goodness, someone said they hadn't, hard reset 112 said, Charles is awesome. I never heard of him until today, but I'm a fan. Well, welcome to the world of Charles.
Yeah. He's definitely a polarizing figure in the world of crypto. But I'm a fan of his as well. Doesn't mean I agree with everything that ever comes out of his mouth either. I think people always try to do that. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, you're a fan of him, so he said this one thing. You must agree. It's like, no, come on, guys. Nuance matters. But he's definitely very entertaining. And if you guys want some foundational knowledge, this is perfect. So if this guy watches the replay who says, we don't watch any ish, this is close to the 5 minutes that you jumped to, so maybe you'll be here. If you go over to Charles Hoskinson's older videos, he's walking through on like whiteboards the foundational knowledge of how these systems function. And that's really how I got involved in crypto on a deeper level. Because I always was so fascinated by this, but as someone who didn't have a software background, I'm like, how does this shit all work? And he's who I learned a lot of the foundational stuff from.
So one of the OG ones here is Cardano Whiteboard Overview with Charles Hoskinson. This is 8 years ago.
I strongly recommend everyone watching that.
2017. Okay. So look at that. Wow. It's a younger Charles. Fantastic. I think that's the major stuff for today, ladies and gentlemen.
Sweet. Cool.
They said next get Brad on. Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, man, it would be pretty cool to get Brad Garlinghouse on here.
I feel like you could.
I think it's possible. Thinking Crypto had him on. I think I could do it.
I think you definitely
Different
could.
time, but
Yeah. But I think you have a lot more pull than you realize, right? Because sometimes, like, it would just take a reach out for them to even for you to get on their radar. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not like they would say no. They just don't know you exist because they're doing 100 million things.
Very true, man.
Sweet. Well, then, are we all good here to wrap up?
Yeah, I feel like I saw one other thing, but I don't see it anymore, so it's gone. Yep.
We appreciate all you guys. And sorry for the not being able to throw your comments up like we normally do. There was some hiccup on the tech side. I'll try to make sure that doesn't happen again, but I did it the same way I always do it. And this situation was created. So I was like scrambling like the cat meme to try to fix it when we first started.
You did great.
But thank you guys all so much for hanging out with us. It's always one of the highlights of my week. What's up?
So Cross Central said, appreciate you guys. 3 hours of ball knowledge for free. Y'all are goats, man. And then this man said, skip my math lecture for this. Ben, this is one of my biggest fears of the time of our of our show.
I'm not advocating skipping your math lecture, but it's probably the right return on investment decision.
When I was in uni, I would have done the same thing. That's all I could say.
Yeah, I wouldn't even have gone to the class, man. So like, yeah. Oh, I'm not advocating not going to class. If you're paying for it, you should go.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also a lot of times you can get the replay. If he's in high school, probably not. But
Oh, yeah.
college,
High
you,
school,
you
you
could.
get in trouble, bro.
Yeah, high school is harder to do that stuff with.
Sure.
Sweet. Well, then we're gonna wrap up, guys. Unless you got anything else, Keith.
Nothing from me. Appreciate you guys for being here. This is, like he said, highlight of the day and week when we get these. So appreciate you.
We appreciate you guys. Be the light that you want to see. We'll see all of you guys on Tuesday. We have another awesome guest that will go even deeper to a lot of the topics that we discussed today in terms of the systems and how the world governs itself and all that stuff. So definitely tune in on Tuesday. And we appreciate you guys tremendously for hanging out with us for today.
Stay curious, folks.
See you guys. Have a good one. I'm going to play the outro. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.
Hey, you made it to the end of the clip. That means you're probably enjoying this. And if so, just know that you can catch us live every Tuesday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to see the full version of this episode, you can click the link in the description down below. Otherwise, YouTube thinks that you will enjoy this next.